So everyone, as I mentioned in class on Monday, for tomorrow, Wednesday, April 12th, there's a journal that students will complete that focuses on the skill we looked at in Monday's class that I called the sandwich method, about effectively incorporating research into a body paragraph. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there now because this cracked molar situation has become untenable and I need to go back to the dentist to get it repaired for a second time. Hence this video that's going to give you a quick reminder of what the sandwich method is, what the skill associated with the journal is, and just an overview of what I'm asking you to do for the journal itself. So let's take a look. All right, so imagine you're writing an essay on cloning, right? And your argument is that cloning is a good thing and that cloning is highly misunderstood by the everyday person on the street. And so one of your paragraphs might say something like this: cloning is misunderstood as it's been blown out of proportion by movies and TV shows. Really crystal clear topic sentence with a great claim. And then maybe you have this as your research for support. Quote, from books like Frankenstein to movies such as The Sixth Day in the Star Wars franchise, popular media has done nothing but stir up the public's anxiety regarding cloning, end quote. These are two great things. The claim is clear, the research is strong. The problem is you need more. You need to tell us where the research comes from, and you need to interpret it for us, right? And what you want to do is think of, anytime you use outside research, think of a sandwich. It's corny, I know, but it really is effective, right? In terms of metaphors and how to write essays, it's probably one of the more effective ones. So the sandwich method refers to the top slice of bread always being your introduction to the research. So you need to tell us something about who's wrote the research or did the study or where it came from, right? So the good news is you already have this because you did it in your annotated bibliography, but you want to give us some insight into who's saying your research. Then the actual quote or paraphrase or whatever is the meat of the sandwich. The bottom slice of bread is your interpretation. And this is critical, and right? And no sandwich is complete without a bottom slice of bread. You're not going to sit there and, hold your hands on the meat of the sandwich. You need the bottom slice of bread. So remember, you need the interpretation or your explanation of the research. So what does this look like sort of, in the real world? So let's look at the exact example we just looked at, where the student's arguing cloning's misunderstood, and then they have a great quote. So here's I tweaked it a little bit, but here's their claim or their topic sentence. Cloning's been misunderstood because of exaggeration and sensationalism in entertainment media, and many people falsely assume the worst. Again, crystal clear topic sentence, strong claim, now prove it. Here's the quote down here, but we're interested first in the top slice of bread, or the signaling phrase, right? Introducing the quote to us. Author and supporter of cloning, president of the Human Cloning Foundation, George Smith, argues that science fiction works have created hysteria in the minds of many. In media sensationalism cloning, Smith argues, and then we have that quote. And then when we get down to the bottom slice of bread, notice how the student sort of analyzes or otherwise interprets the research for us. Smith offers a comprehensive analysis of how movies and television exaggerate presentations of cloning for dramatic effect, resulting in the public having virtually no authentic insight into how cloning is actually used in a scientific setting. So if you notice, like, this interpretation, the bottom slice of bread, doesn't say anything all that much different than the meat, so to speak, of the sandwich. It just says it in a new way and bolsters or reinforces it. Finally, last but not least, a transitional sentence. What this does is sort of move us out of the paragraph and into the next one. Instead of correctly thinking about life-saving medical procedures and cloning tissue and organs, many people picture futuristic scenes of embryos being grown in incubation chambers and armies of clones marching, none of which have anything to do with cloning. That's an example of the sandwich technique. So let's look at journal number 12 and how you'll do this in Wednesday's class. All right. To access Journal 12, obviously, you go to the journal areas of our classroom. Just realize that Journal 12 will be sort of buried in the middle. If you remember, after Journal 9, things sort of reset themselves. You have to go to the middle to find Journal 10 11 and 12. So what is Journal 12 asking you to do? It's just doing exactly what we just talked about in terms of writing a paragraph, but using the sandwich method to incorporate research. All right, so the journal instructions say for this journal, you'll use the sandwich method of incorporating research in order to compose one body paragraph for your essay, complete with topic sentence, right? So there's your claim. It's like your argument. Signaling phrase, top slice of bread. Quote from your research, the meat of the sandwich. Interpretation of the quote, the bottom slice of bread. And then transitional sentence or sentences. Transitional sentences are a little bit difficult. They take some finesse, but it's basically just sort of like wrapping up a paragraph. It can be just a short sentence or sometimes a longer sentence, but the goal is always the same, to sort of signal to your reader like, hey, we're done with this argument. We're moving on to the next one. So if you want to see an example of how this journal will look, of course, there's one in the journal. What's your topic sentence? Just come up with it. And you've already done this. I think, was it journal 9 where you listed your claims? So just pluck a claim out of journal 9, right? Signaling phrase. In theory, you have this done as well from your annotated bibliography. You've read your sources and hopefully have some familiarity with who wrote them. So that's where you'll get your top slice of bread, your signaling phrase, who's the person that wrote it, what's their expertise, background. Your actual quote. All right, this might take a little work. Some of you, I know, in your annotated bibliography spent time actually highlighting the specific quotes you plan to use in your essay. Others of you just said, hey, this is a good source. So for this assignment, you will need to dive into your research and like pluck out a quote. Interpretation. No one's done this yet. This is difficult. Again, I said it before. It's the part that's often left out, but it's you sort of walking your reader through your logic. That's the best way to think about it. You know your logic. You're writing your essay. It's clear to you when you reread it, but your audience might read it and say, like, I don't understand how this research supports what they say it supports. That's what the bottom slice of bread is. It's like the most important slice of bread. It's your chance to explain to your reader, like, hey, if you missed the way the logic of this argument is working, let me point you back in the direction of it. And then finally, the transition. So transitional sentence or sentences wraps up a paragraph and sort of, leads us into the next one. That's really what I'm looking for you guys to do for Journal 12. I know it feels like a lot, but the hope is that when you do it, you'll then have at least one full, comprehensive, well-developed body paragraph for your essay. So you'll have your argument in your mind, you'll have your intro done, you'll have at least one body paragraph. So when it comes time to put together the whole essay, you'll have less work to do. All right, be sure to reach out with any questions and let me know how I can help.